Hi there and welcome back to a chatty video today. I thought it would be really fun and maybe handy for those that are quite new to scrapbooking and journaling to talk about the question that I get asked sometimes: what is the difference between scrapbooking and journaling? And then I also thought I would go on to talk about why I have switched over from my beloved scrapbooking over to journaling, and we'll talk about the two hand in hand today in this video. So I started off as a traditional 12 by 12 scrapbooker. I think it was about 2003-ish. I was a card maker already and then started scrapbooking when my second child was a baby. And I was instantly hooked. I felt like it was the perfect hobby for me after having had photo albums and making creative photo albums for all the years. A French friend then showed me scrapbooking and I just loved it. It was like I was already making cards but then giving them away, so this was something that I could do to combine my love of paper crafts and memory making, like my photo albums, but combining the two and then actually getting to keep the craft that I'd made rather than give it away like when you make a card for somebody. I have so many scrapbook albums. This is a typical 12 by 12, and then you make what's called a layout inside, and you have them in the plastic wallets like that. They used to be post bound years ago, and then they brought out the D-ring, which is so much nicer because then you can put them in and change the order around, and it's just lovely. The thing I love about scrapbooking is the space that you have. I love the 12 by 12 size. It's really nice. You've got so much space. You can have great big photographs as well. And then you can also have loads of little ones. You can get really, really creative, which I love. The biggest problem I have, and one of the main reasons why I switched, was the size. They are quite large to store. They look really pretty. I've got those. I've got pages at the top, which I still haven't filed away. I've got them at the bottom. I've got them in cupboards, and I've got them in the loft. I've got so many of them. And it just struck me one day that what are my kids going to do with them one day? They're not going to want to find storage for them. And I was already making mini books anyway. So I've got a little mini book here that I've previously made. Just a cute little journal about our Tennessee road trip that we took. And I would quite often make a mini book during the school holidays if we'd been away, or like sometimes I would make them just to do like a day in the week, or especially our favourite walks, things like that, or birthdays. And it kind of went on from there. I found journaling, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 2017 I think, and I started doing it as a trip journal. Actually it was 2018. This was my first proper journal. It was a traveller's notebook, and I started using traveller's notebooks to start with. So I would buy the journals like this, and my favourites are simple stories, and then the journals are ready to go. And then you can get creative with them. You can buy prettier ones as well. I'll leave the link to my shop. But the problem I had, because I'm not just journaling, I'm wanting to add all the flips, all the texture. I'm wanting to add pockets and ribbon, that my journals were getting really, really chunky and then they wouldn't close. I've got quite a few, like here I've had to take out the staples and add ribbon. I've really struggled. These are far too chunky for what you can actually use. The spine is just, got an envelope there, just isn't good enough, isn't strong enough. So these poor pages have well and truly died. So then I started looking at other ways to do it, and over the years then I've been finding different ways, watching different videos, and you know what it's like, it's like falling down a rabbit hole, and I feel like now I have found my perfect solution. I started using books as well, like notebooks, and turning these into journals, but again the spine just isn't big enough and they start to really, really bulk out. This one is only half full. So that is when Michelle gave us a class during our Patreon. We have monthly classes on Patreon in our community. I'll leave the link down to that below. And 1 week we made a journal from complete scratch. And that for me was a life changer. And this is now my favorite thing to do. I am in love with these journals and just making them from scratch. I've been doing this now quite a few times. And for me, I think this is my perfect way to journal. Now, the other big difference between obviously what you're creating in a scrapbook compared to a 12 by 12 page, obviously it doesn't have to be 12 by 12, you can have a scrapbook that's like an 8 by 6 or an A4 size. It's the actual journal, the pages themselves, and how you create differently, I feel, in a journal compared to a scrapbook. Now, I'm just talking, sorry, it's a bit dusty on here, so it's sat on the side. I'm talking for me personally. A scrapbook, I've actually framed this one here. I would find that my page would be very photo-based, very embellishment-based, but, oh, it's so dusty. But I wouldn't do a lot of journaling. I wouldn't always, I would sometimes, but generally it would be more about the actual photo. Whereas for me, it's always been the storytelling. That's what I enjoy. I love telling a story and reading back on a story. And it's even got to the stage where I've made a layout and then I've realised I've left no space for the story, and I've even sometimes written them on the back. That can be quite handy if you don't like journaling. I know some people want to tell the stories but struggle. Do them on the back, pop it on a sticker or just write on the back. Whereas I feel like for me, the journaling, it's more about the storytelling. And I also find that with scrapbooking, a lot of the time you'd be documenting the events rather than like the bigger events, rather than a lot of the time the everyday stuff. And it's also the everyday stuff that I really like, that it's really important to me, and I really enjoy looking back on. So like when I think back to my weekly journal, I just really like this. I feel a lot more relaxed with my journal than I do the scrapbook. I feel that having that smaller space, it's less overwhelming. Sometimes a 12 by 12, it could take a couple of hours, 3 hours. By the time you've chosen what you want, it was very much a process. Choosing your papers, maybe choosing your design if you're going to use a sketch, for example, to inspire you, choosing your embellishments, your alphabet stickers, your photos. Whereas I feel a lot more relaxed with doing a journal page. I kind of throw it all on. I don't worry too much. That's when I had that saying in my head, it's only paper. Because I realised when I was scrapbooking, I was just taking it almost too seriously. And I remember being at a friend's once at a crop, and she was so particular with how she did it. Some people might relate to this, like having her clear ruler so she could line everything up to put her thickers on in a straight line. I've never taken it that seriously. But I just feel that with a journal, I just really enjoy it. And I just get on with my pages. They're colourful, they're fun. I love just not thinking about it. I feel a lot more relaxed doing my journal pages. I don't know what the difference is, and I don't know why, because it's obviously a psychological thing, but a journal makes me feel a lot more relaxed. I feel a lot less overwhelmed, and I just do it. I just feel so much more relaxed about it. And the other thing is as well, because everything isn't behind a plastic wallet or inside a plastic wallet, you can get a lot more interactive. Like I've got here a pulley out. You wouldn't do this so much with a scrapbook page because it's all in plastic. So I've got a lot more bits and pieces that pull out, fold out. I've got a lot more pieces that have pockets and things. As you can see, my pages are much more interactive since I've been journaling. And that's something that really excites me. I love having the texture. Again, with scrapbooks being in plastic wallets, you have the texture, but you can't feel the texture. And that's what I really love. I love anything like with a pulley out tag. I just feel that I love scrapbooking, but I'm in love with journaling. It just excites me so much. Does that make sense? Thing is with scrapbooking though, because you've got the more space, it's really nice for doing mixed media pages, getting the big 12 by 12 stencils. You can stack your pages up more. You have got space to really stack up those embellishments, get your buttons on there, your big chunky embellishments with the foam pads. Because everything's behind a wallet, it's a bit more protected. You have got a bit more space, whereas in a journal you obviously don't have as much space to play with. That is a little bit of a shame, and I'm finding with my mixed media pages I'm tending to do the mixed media and then stick the page in separate. So I do miss that. I did a lot more mixed media when I was scrapbooking. So there's definitely pros and cons to both. I would advise these days to maybe start with journaling. I feel, like I said, it's less overwhelming. It's almost like a more relaxed way of memory keeping. That's how I personally feel. I have also found a go-between the two, which I really, really love, because I do love scrapbooking. By using planners. These are just simple planners. This one was £6 from Primark. You can pick them up really cheaply. And then I am not using the pages that come inside the planner, but I'm making up my own pages. So this one, for example, is just an A5 size, so it's smaller. I can do the pages like a journal page, so we've still got flips and pockets, but I'm taking them out and individually making them and then holding them to put inside. And I'm finding this is working really well for me. I've still got the relaxed version of journaling, but almost like doing a scrapbook layout. I've still got my pockets, I've still got the interactive bits, but I'm making the page on the side on my desk as if it were a layout. And then, like I said, adding the holes and popping it inside. And I'm finding this is working really, really well for me. It really is a nice mix of the two. Creative journaling. I think this might be my favourite form. This one is my recipe journal, and this one is very similar, where I'm adding recipes, but doing it as a journal style, but almost like creating little scrapbooking layouts. I've got dashboards in here as well, so it's like a planner, but by adding little pages for my recipes and adding the stories behind the recipes too. I'm really enjoying this one as well. I don't create in this one as often as I should, but I really, really enjoy it. So that's my little take on the difference between scrapbooking and journaling. I feel like the scrapbooking is like the parent of journaling. It's like the formal version. And then the journaling is all like the little kids having fun and just really chilled and screaming and loud and sounds a bit mad, doesn't it? I just thought of that and it kind of makes sense, really. Yeah, the scrapbooking is like the grown-up version and the journaling is like all the kids having fun. I quite like the thought of that. But it definitely takes up a lot more less space as well. A 12 by 12 compared to a journal. A journal can be whatever size you want it to be as well, and they just take up a lot more less space at home. So I would love to hear from you, your version of the difference between scrapbooking and journaling. Are you still a scrapbooker? Are you a journaler? Did you, like me, convert from scrapbooking to journaling, or have you just started at journaling? When I was scrapbooking, journaling wasn't even a thing. A journal was like a diary. It's not as it is now. I think it's just gone, and I guess scrapbooking has just evolved over the years, and I think it's amazing. I think there's something for everyone, and there's no reason why you can't flip in and out between the two. I actually had a question in our chat group the other day. Somebody was wanting to start journaling but not knowing how to transition. And the thing that I said that I did was I then started just doing scrapbooking for the larger events, for like the birthdays, but then keeping journaling for the everyday. So I think if you are wanting to maybe try journaling, try keeping it for the everyday things and seeing if that's a good way for you to start. Really hope you've enjoyed this. I look forward to reading your comments below and hearing from you and seeing what you do, and if like me you've also made the change, and what type of journaling do you do if you are a journaler now. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.